Hi, it's Michelle Bursell, psychotherapist and founder of the International Institute for Emotional Empowerment. First of all, I just want to thank you for tuning in. I know I have been MIA and I want to share with you why that is. And I also want you to know that I am here for you, and I am so committed to giving you the most relevant information to your overall well-being and especially your emotional well-being. And this is actually why I took some time away. It's why you haven't been hearing a lot from me, because I started to feel like I was getting really tired of the personal development world. Quite honestly, there's just been so much noise, and I didn't know what it was exactly that was bothering me so much about it. Now that I've taken some time, I really see that so much of what is out there reminds me of the fad diets that we've very much likely have all seen, or maybe at one point been a part of. I know I have. And those fad diets, there's something to them. We're drawn to them because there's short-term results, right? But in the long run, they tend to work against us, right? And I felt like we were being fed these fad diets in the personal development world now. It's a fad diet on happiness and your relationships and wealth, and it just started to feel icky to me. So what I needed to do for myself personally and for my community was really put my work to the test and really understand two things. And this is what I did. So the first one was I wanted to understand the science behind emotional empowerment. Now, I'm not that much of a science type of woman. If I see something works, I'm like, cool, it works, and let's keep doing it. But what I started to understand was that for some people, they don't work that way, and that science builds confidence and trust in a process. And I want to be able to give that to you. And I also want you to understand, I think this is really going to help you differentiate between the fad and what really works and why it's working and the impact that it's having on our brain, our subconscious mind, our hormones, all sorts of relevant impact to how we respond to the world versus dysfunctional stress responses. And I'm going to be sharing more with you about what this is. Now, the second thing I did was I wanted to see if this work is really what I say it is. What if I applied it to those with the most trauma? And so I've been fortunate that I got invited to do research and work right in a community near mine, which happens to be one of the most trauma-induced communities. If you look up the zip code 53206, and there is research and documentaries about this community that's like 15, 20 minutes from me as being one of the most filled with trauma, racism, poverty, incarceration. And I've been fortunate that I got to speak at an event. It was a Scaling Wellness in Milwaukee initiative that actually Oprah has been, she did a talk for the beginning of this conference to really say, we need to change this. We need to look at how we're addressing trauma. And so I was like, okay, let's see if what I'm sharing applies. And I'm excited to share, I got amazing feedback. I was told, these were from social workers, therapists, people who are working hands-on with those in this community and foster care, those who experience the most trauma, that the breakout session that I shared was the most relevant of the whole 3-day conference and of the breakout sessions. And so, what I heard is that this information, emotional empowerment, turns on our head how we think about and relate to our emotions in a way that's not even taught to the therapists and social workers that were in the room. And it made sense, and they could see themselves applying it to those with the most trauma. And so this made me start thinking of you, because I think all of us, and what statistics are showing is that we all have trauma of some level, of some sort. And if this can apply to those with the most trauma, what it can do for those of us with some trauma, and how we can start to have an impact not just for ourselves, but those that we touch in our lives. And there's this book that I've been reading. It's The Deepest Well. Recommend it if you're interested in it. If not, don't worry. I'm going to be giving you the science to all this. But it's by Dr. Nadine Burke-Harris. And I just want to read to you really quickly how she says that, this dysfunction is impacting how we learn, how we parent, how we react at home and at work, and what we are able to create in our communities. It affects our children, our earning potential, and the very ideas we have about what we're capable of. And so a part of this process is really to change this is emotional health, emotional well-being, mental health, and no one else is applying this emotional piece like the emotional empowerment process is. So I'm excited to share this with you, and I'm excited to turn the fad diets that we have on this on its head. And so a couple ideas I have about this that I want and invite you to reflect on if you're doing this. And if you are, please do not feel bad. Again, I was in a room with therapists and social workers. They had no idea. But the fad diets, remember the fad diet of, don't eat anything with fat in it, because if you eat things with fat, it'll make you fat. And logically, that seemed to make sense. I remember that. I was like, wow, that totally makes sense. And so I was eating all these no fat foods, but with a ton of sugar. And and of course, that's not healthy for us, right? And so we had to learn about whole health and whole foods. And that's what I want to guide us to with our emotions. So instead of no fats, where we're at with emotions is no negative feelings, get rid of them, tap them away, release them, tuck them away, because they're no good for you. And I want to turn that all on its head, because that is working against us. And I'm going to be sharing with you more in future trainings, free trainings, why that is and what to be doing instead. The other thing it reminds me about with the fad diets is count your calories, the more weight you're gonna gain. And I feel like in some way we're doing that with our negative thoughts. We're like, the more negative thoughts, the more negative emotions you're going to have. And it's not necessary. And it puts our focus in a direction that's really not that impactful. And there's a better way we can put our focus and energy that serves the wholeness of who we are and the wholeness of our emotional well-being. So I invite you to think about that. And if you are interested, please look out for more. There's going to be more trainings. Now, this leads me to where I'm really fired up. I've always wanted to spread this work to the world. And I'm realizing more and more that the more we can get this in the hands of kids, the better. And so I feel very drawn to be sharing this with parents. Ton of research of what we can do as parents that totally impacts the brain, the chemistry of how our kids are emotionally reacting. And in a world where there's more depression, more anxiety, more anger, I think we need this more than ever. So parents, look out. I've got more to share on this. And if this is resonating with you, please share this with other parents that are like-minded like you, because again, this is going from the fads to whole food understanding. And it took some time and education to get there, and people that got this to add to the momentum. And so we're going from these fad ways of trying to get rid of negative emotions to really understanding the wholeness to our emotional selves, what to do with this in an empowered way. And those of you who are not parents, please share this with other parents and know that I have training for you coming up as well. All right, everyone, thank you so much again for listening, tuning in, being a part of this community, and being willing to let go of the fad and go for true longevity, emotional health, and emotional well-being. I promise this impacts so many areas of our life, and I want to bring you the best, most relevant information for you. All right, thank you again, and I'll be in touch with you soon. Take care.